This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, at least from South Africa. It may not be morning where you are, but it's definitely morning where we are. It's a chilly, overcast morning, but I am braving it. I am determined not to wear my jacket just yet. I have Scottish blood after all. We are sitting here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, but we're going to be coming to you live from many different locations across South Africa, all with unique things to offer and show you. So everyone, that means you got to get ready because of course it's that time of day for your bumble through the bush. Welcome aboard, everyone, at least to my safari vehicle. And I hope you're ready. It can get rather bumpy out here on one's bumble. And of course, yesterday was an incredibly exciting day here in Djuma. And at least Buffelshoek, we had cats everywhere. So we're hoping for another drive like that. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera. We're actually positioned on a road where we can see the tree that Mulwati had his kill. So I'm going to just move forward a little bit, Davy. And we shall see if we can get a view. There's no point in bashing through the block if he's not there or the kill's not there. So let me move forward. It's not entirely anticipating that he'll be there, but it's always worth checking. Everything's worth checking. You never know what nature's going to throw at you, including a lion hunt and a pangolin. So of course, everyone, we are live and interactive. You absolutely must talk to us. That is the whole point. You can do that, I think maybe from here, Davy, in many different ways. Hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat. There we go, Davy, you've got it. That's where it was yesterday. You see the kill? There we go. Well done, Davy. That is a kill that is empty. It's very far away, excuse the distance. I don't see any leopard, do you? Nope. So yes, @FC on the YouTube chat, or you can head over to the website, the Wild Earth website, register and submit your questions on the live safari page. Kids, if you're watching, please do talk to us. We definitely want to hear from you guys. And you email us, and the address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I wonder if it's worth bashing in or not, that kill. Davy thinks it is. Okay, we shall do it. I mean, Mulwati is skittish. Stephen Darby got incredibly lucky yesterday, and patience really pays off. He's more of a nocturnal cat, or at least a crepuscular cat, where I think it's easier to spend time with him very early in the morning or once that sun starts to set. I called him a stasher and a dasher yesterday. He stashies and then dashies. I think that's a great name for Mulwati. And for those of you who are not sure who Mulwati is, he is our dominant territorial male, at least on Djuma. Yes, he is just not a fan of vehicles, but that's fine. Yesterday proved this a start, becoming more and more habituated. And we always used to sit round the table and talk. Maybe he doesn't hoist kills. Maybe he's just not a hoister, but he absolutely is a hoister, and yesterday proved that. Okay, I'm going to go in. You never know. There may be a hyena and there may be a leopard. So as I bumble through the bush, let's take a look at the weather across all the locations.
Good morning, and welcome to a Buffalo Dawn here on Easter Monday, live in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we have indeed caught up with a large herd of buffalo that I was sort of with last night around Sydney's Dam. and they've moved into Djuma, which is a blessing. We've been wondering and hoping for the buffalo to return back onto Djuma, as there are some areas that need a little bit of landscaping. And while we know the buffalo, they mow the lawn quite nicely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve, joined this morning by Morgan on camera. And as always, we are delighted to have you with us on board. And we hope you are looking forward to a wonderful Monday morning. Now, it is Monday, Morgan, yes? Yes, it's Monday. We get a bit caught up in our bubble here. This is a very large herd that we had last night. I'm pretty sure it's the same one by the tracks. And after we left Mawati last night, we heard about the buffalo at Sydney's Dam, and we heard that the Telematis were coming from the north. So we went to go hang out there to see if we could catch some action. And, well, unfortunately, we weren't able to broadcast, but the lions ended up going and catching an impala instead of a whole herd of buffalo that was on tap for them to catch. We know the Telematis is a pride of 14-odd lions, and, well, an impala really doesn't go very far for a Sunday roast. Don't you agree, Mr. Morgan? 100%. Now, this young male, he would be much easier or much finer catch for a pride of lion, but in saying that, buffalo herds can often be very, very cooperative, can often be very, very good at defending themselves. There are lots of little babies in the herd. They've all bred. Well, not all of them, but many of the females have had calves recently. And this female here is showing us what she can do with her horns. And she's got little hard-to-reach places that are quite itchy. Curl action, their horns are very awesome, and it's a very good sort of testament to understand how these animals behave. I talk often about ecology and how animals fit into the landscape, and while buffalo are very well known to defend themselves as well as their calves against predation, and it is why they've got horns. They are essentially an open plains specialist. But here we find them called the savanna buffalo, where they do require shade. Obviously, the bush has become a lot denser and a lot thicker in parts of the Kruger, but buffalo, as we've seen in the Mara, do move in large herds through very wide open spaces. They do require lots of water. They do require sweet, long grass, and they do require a semblance of shade for them to go through the process of rumination, which is what you can see he's kind of doing now, although he's staring off at something. I was going to scratch the back of his neck and do a little cat-cow pose there. Oh, I've never seen a buffalo do the cat-cow pose before. I'm actually quite excited that I got to see that pose there. Do you know any yoga poses, Morgan? Morgan doesn't know any yoga poses. The cat-cow pose, everybody, if you've ever seen it before, the cat is a typical sort of stretching the back downwards or upwards. I can't remember, but he did a bit of it upward, sort of like he went onto his toes and pushed the top of his back right up. Fantastic. I'd always wondered why it was called the cow. Cat-cow, I understood the cat, but the cow was always eluded me. But I'm actually quite looking forward to going to India later this year. It has been calling me, and I'm going to go and maybe do a small yoga course. I think that'd be wonderful. And then I'll really know the origins of all of these interesting names. But while we watch these buffalo thrashing at this poor little Falboom Terminalia sericea, we'll send you over to Josh, who would like to say good morning.
Well, good morning and welcome to a very beautiful Tswalu Kalahari. So we're just repositioning a little bit here, folks. But we have the most stunning sky, some nice giraffes to start off the morning, and I definitely am not complaining. It's a nice big journey of giraffe that we've been sitting with, but take a look, the colors there, no giraffes in the distance. Once again, good morning. My name is Josh, and behind the camera is BK, and we'll be sharing the beauty of the green Kalahari with you this morning. So let's have a look what's going on here. Got quite a nice big journey of giraffe. Oh, not interested in us at all, but those colors looking lovely. So sun has risen. But obviously behind the mountains, we're quite close to the western side of the Coronaberg. And as mornings go, this is definitely not a bad way to start. BK wanted a tall order. I found a giraffe. So the corny jokes have been running all morning. We cannot complain. This is a nice mixed journey. There's males and females in here of all ages. We can't see all of them. They've slowly fed away from us. But we've definitely got a fair few. Little ashy tit calling in the background there. Lots of birds going. And Kalahari scrub robin. So the dawn chorus is at full steam. So 50, I agree, the morning skies here are spectacular. I know I've said this before and I will probably say it a lot more, but Tswalu really is a land of contrast. The colors here between sunrise, sunset, and the clash between the red sands and our green vegetation, and that you land up with the most spectacular vistas and landscapes. So it's definitely a highlight for me here. Little button quails calling, some common quails calling. There's lots going on. I think this is one of the things, folks, we get so caught up in the rat race of our lives that we never slow down, and that's the beauty of the bushveld, is it forces you to calm down a bit and just see what's going on. I think we're going to reposition slightly quickly, just try and get you a better visual of what's going on with these giraffes. Stick with us for a few seconds, see if we can't get you a better look. Looks like this journey is slowly feeding into the block and away from us, but there's still a few individuals around. So Kathy's just asked, do giraffes have a favorite tree to feed on? I'm sure like us as individuals, they'll have a preference. But in general, the family of trees they prefer to feed on are your thorn trees. What you will find is species that have never been fed on, or specific trees, are less likely to have very high tannin levels, so they'll taste sweeter. But something that's been fed on regularly will keep a fairly high tannin level as a defense mechanism. I don't think giraffes have a specific preference. but definitely something that hasn't been fed on will be more palatable. It's not quite like your ellies who will go through fences to get to fresh marula fruit or sugarcane or something like that. As we can see, off they go. So we're going to see what else we can find, but for now, we're going to send you across to say good morning to Dyke. Enjoy!
Good morning to our viewers at home. Welcome to Wild Air Safari. We on Ngala Private Game Reserve Kruger National Park. Please join me, Dyke Khoza, and Mpho behind the camera on this beautiful morning adventure. So we're gonna try look for lions this morning on the we're gonna check this area on the eastern side of the reserve, try find some lions for you, and then we're looking today to follow up on tracks of the Birmingham Pride with the 2 white lions, because yesterday the tracks were seen coming into this area. So this is what we're gonna do for the first hour or so, see if we can find those lions in this area. And they may have hunted last night, and then we're gonna see, because there's tracks of lots of hyenas in the area that we saw. They coming into this area, they may have had those lions feeding off something, but if it's something small, they may have eaten and finished. Let's hope they've taken something big down last night, and we might be able to watch them feed, and hoping that maybe one of the Ross males or both the 2 males have joined them. It will be even better if the whole pride is together, because having seen them together for quite some times, of which stay tuned, and then we're gonna carry on, try find those lions this morning. So far we haven't found any tracks, but we're still looking, and we're hoping that those tracks are gonna come out on the road in the direction where we're heading, because they were seen coming.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy, until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa, day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Welcome back, everybody. We are still with our buffalo that are just taking it really easy. You see the little babies. You see two will go. Buffalo are quite unique in the way that they suckle. They suckle behind the back legs. It's one of those unique sort of, I suppose you don't really need an identification feature when you find an African or Cape buffalo. You kind of know who they are. Beautiful mixed herd of fantastic bulls, cows and calves, lots of them. We were in amongst it last night, and the insects, everybody, I can tell you, is quite something, especially with some lights on. I don't mean we're shining them, but we've got a monitor light here and a presenter light, and the insects are just next level. So buffalo moving in, they obviously, and we talk about this a lot, so let's get back into the ecology of things. Buffalo are not an animal that's regarded as an unsustainable grazer. They are an animal that moves between water points, but they're constantly looking for the best possible grazing. So they're constantly going to areas that actually require a garden service. And then by moving through, their hooves, hundreds of them, churn up the ground. Their urine and dung gets mixed in with the ground, it gets deposited. The amount of insects that breed off of the dung that these buffalo provide is incredible. Dung beetles, fly larvae, so many other different organisms. And then at the same time, they chop the grass down, so they open it up a little bit more. They facilitate more open grasslands, which are more sort of favored by many of the other animals that we sort of encounter, such as impala and wildebeest. And then at the same time, these areas where they bed down for a few hours, the grass gets completely trampled, completely flattened, and you get a massive nutrient change in this environment because these animals are constantly defecating and urinating. And so all of that nutrients becomes a bit of a hot spot in this 20, 30, 50 meter radius sort of area, maybe even larger, that these animals end up spending a number of hours in. And then they stand up, they trample it all, and they move on. In sustainable agriculture, Alan Savory is a very well-known name in the industry, and he's come up with many, many methods and strategies of how to maximize the growth of vegetation, specifically grass, in an area with the use of cattle and the use of cattle in blocks, moving them in and out for a very specific number of hours. They're in there, they utilize, they feed, they defecate, they churn up, they sit down, they stand, they squash, whatever it is, and then they move. And there's a very specific number of hours that a block is used with cattle, and you get the maximum growth rate of vegetation afterwards. This vegetation is designed to be damaged and churned up and eaten and grazed. It's not designed to be constantly under pressure. That is one of the concerns that we have with placements of water points, is that you have certain animals, which obviously in their own right are natural to the system, such as wildebeest and waterbuck and impala. But because water is so abundant, you have high pressure in areas all the time. Whereas buffalo are an animal that move through the landscape, constantly trying to find new areas. And obviously there are also the benefits to the oxpeckers that they provide, and the number of lives that ticks go through the bodies and through the life cycles on buffalo themselves. So beautiful organism, very important for the ecosystem. And they're also, in my opinion, quite an attractive animal to spend time with. Not many people I know of actually like to spend time with buffalo. I've done almost entire drives with them. Morgan, you like buffalo? I try and talk a bit of buffalo sometimes. I think I might have gone a little bit mad, in fact, but that's all right. You all know that. Bella Vista School, you want to know how much a buffalo can weigh? I think the heaviest recorded buffalo is about a ton. About a metric ton. That's very heavy. Now, I don't know if this is a man or female. It's got a bit of a double half boss, semi. This one just stood up on the right there. Now, the females get up to 300 to 400 kilograms. Males normally in the range of 750, 850. But some males, that is definitely a boy. Some males can get up to 1,000 kilograms, which is a beast. That's a very big animal. And with the horns and the muscles in the neck, these animals are very, very good at fighting, at defending. And, it's probably, buffalo is probably one of the major reasons lions became prides. The herd structure, there are many animals we find out and about that have moved into what we call herd structure mentality, but there's no herd that exhibits it as well as the buffalo does. From a safety point of view, from a unity point of view, from a defense of the herd point of view, buffalo just exemplify the benefits of herd mentality, and no doubt due to the numbers, the size, and the way the buffalo behave, it's how lions have become about. Okay, well, it's a very good morning to Mike and Johanna over in Pridelands. I'm sure they're waiting to say good morning to you.
As you see, we are here at a very grey and very cold Leopard Dam this morning, planning on doing a bit of a walk around the open areas north of the dam. Hi everyone, my name's Mike Anderson, behind the camera is Johan, and this is Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, where we've decided to break the mold a bit and come visit a waterhole when it's cold. I don't know if that's going to work for us, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot of bird activity this morning. There's a brown-hooded kingfisher just flying over there somewhere. But yes, our plan is to head somewhere down the other side of the dam. There's a drainage line, nice and big open clearing areas. Maybe even walk a bit northwest of the dam there where there's some grassy areas. Now we've heard a hyena already this morning, not so far behind us, making a bit of noise. So I'd like to maybe just investigate the area and see what else could be happening. And dams and waterholes and open areas are always great places to start, to listen, to see what animals are letting us know they're about, and pick up any signs of life in these areas. So let's listen for a moment and just see what sounds we can pick up. There's a multitude of birds. Shin-spot batis, black-headed oriole, lots of crested barbets, a lot of bird life on these cool mornings, not going to overheat, lots of humidity, so lots of insects. But in the meantime, we'll send you over to Ngala with Dyke.
Wow, look what we found. We just found a head of elephants here, which they're moving slowly south in front of us. As you can see, we try and count. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Can be easily more than that, because these animals are small family groups that group together and form one large herd. If you look at the two in the middle standing together, there's two small ones there, but the one I want to talk about is the one to the left of those two small ones. If you look at those tusks, you can see the one tusk is slightly shorter and very well worn down. These animals are mixed feeders. They'll eat everything from roots of the trees to bark, as well as leaves and wild fruits and berries. Unfortunately, the two young ones have just gone in front of her. You can't see. But if we go further to the right, there's this one that's walking, the third one from the right. This one that's facing us now. Just look at the one tusk on the right. And the other one is a very beautiful long tusk, even though it looks slightly deformed. But the other one on the right, you can see it's much shorter than the one on the left. So these animals use those tusks for peeling the bark off the trees, as well as digging until that gets worn down. So they have one tusk which is more dominant than the other. So that's like more or less like us being right or left-handed, besides we don't lose our hands. So that's the one that's getting used more and more until it gets worn down or breaks off like that. So that's really cool. Here the young one communicating with the mother. He's trying to suckle there and the mother doesn't want to stop. So I'm just going to reverse a little bit because these animals are coming too close to us. There you go. That's the young one that's making the noise because he's trying to suckle, but the mother is not letting him do that. They just carry on moving. Here we go. Once the tusk is worn down, she'll start learning to use the other one, but that will take some time. It's like you lost your one arm that if you're right-handed and lose your right hand, it's going to take time to get used to using your left hand. You can see this one that's walking now in front of us. Turn around. She's got a bit of a notch on the right tusk. She might as well get that one worn down as well. See, that one is walking with a piece of grass in his mouth, just shaking off the sand. He looks like he lost the tip of his trunk. That can be from crocodiles when he was still young, because he doesn't have that last part that looks like a hand that they use the most. The one in the middle there, the slightly bigger one on the right, lost the tip of his trunk. The one that's using his foot now kicked the grass off the ground. It's amazing how they hold the grass with their trunk and then kick it off the ground and shake the dust, put that on their mouth. If you look distance where these elephants are heading, there's more elephants coming this way. It will be really nice to see them join because they look like two different heads. Let's keep watching them and see what's going to happen when these two heads meet, because they're slowly walking towards each other. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. As you can see, they're all moving towards the rest that's coming from distance away from us. most of the smaller young ones, I would say they less than a year old. Like different ages on those small ones, and they from different mothers. They're 6, 7 months, 7, 8 months, but less than a year old. And then there are some bigger ones, 2.5, some are 3 years. As you can see, the head always consists of different ages in these animals. They won't be the same because they don't have a breeding season. They'll have babies all year round. See, if you look at the ones in the distance, the young ones are going ahead, but normally what I've seen, because these animals are matriarchal society, it will be the matriarchs that will walk ahead and join, and then they'll allow the rest to move in and get to know each other. If they're definitely from a different head, they might as well join and move along together and split again, or they just might greet each other and walk past each other and go in different directions. That's very interesting. They're getting closer and closer to each other. You might hear them start the rumbling noise, which is the communication sound. Some young ones might even start trumpeting once they get to that head. Yes, Tolani, I've never seen conflict between different heads. The only conflict I've seen between elephants will be the big bulls fighting if there's one female on Ustras, but not different heads come together and fight. I've never seen that. See, there they go. They're now walking around, sniffing each other, sort of like greeting ceremony. Let's see what's going to happen after they're done, whether they're going to move in one direction or the others are going to carry on and go where they were going. That's very interesting. They now have joined, but looks like they're gonna go in the same direction. And the others seems like they've changed because they were coming in this direction and all of a sudden they all joined up and then they're taking the same direction. They might be heading towards the riverbed, dig some water there, because it looks like they've been grazing here. These animals will graze in the direction of water and then get some water, drink, and then carry on grazing for the whole day. Because they'll feed like 14 hours a day because they need so much to eat. They have a very poor digestion system. Of all what they eat, only 40% get digested and the rest just pass through their stomachs. There's quite some big ones that came out the bush now that we couldn't see earlier. Maybe the one that's... Elephant doesn't sleep much. Most of the time they'll rest standing up. They'll do lie down for a very short period, maybe against the bank or a termite mound where they can easily get up if they want to. Can you hear? That's the conflict that I've been asked earlier. There's one that's trumpeting there. I'm sure he's been chased either by the matriarch or one of the bulls. As you can see, there's one that's standing on his own, bit of a distance from the rest of the herd. the one that's making that noise that we can hear in the distance there could be the same age, because they sort of like reaching maturity, and then as soon as they get to that age, they start becoming a problem in the head, and then the matriarch will try and push him away. So that's why we have them one trumpeting and they're all going in that direction where the sound is coming from. Yeah, it looks like they're going into the bushes, and we're gonna drive down, see if we can have a better view of them. Otherwise, we'll continue with our search with the lions and see if we can pick up some tracks and follow up, see if we can find those lions. Let's drive down and see if we can have another view of these elephants. If they gone into the bushes, we'll continue with the search for the lions. Hope we get to see them again and see what happened with the one that was making the noise. Yeah, that was really interesting, because I was really amazed because I only saw the head. I totally agree with you guys, because I thought the head that walked past the vehicle was it, and all of a sudden we saw a different group coming from a different direction, which is really nice to see them together like that, because sometimes you just see one bull on his own, but a head like this was lovely. I agree. Yeah, it looks like they're disappearing into the bushes. Oh, there's one coming back onto the road in front of us. It's one of those young bulls. Yeah, seems like most of this herd is gone into the bushes. So we're gonna go over to Tswalu and see what the guys can surprise us with.
Well, folks, we are in luck. We're getting to spend a little bit of time with our Mokala family. Sorry, not Mokala, our Rockstar family of meerkats. I'm so used to spending time with the Mokalas. So this is a family I haven't spent a huge amount of time with here at Tswalu, but as you can see, it is most definitely one of our habituated families, and it's been a chilly morning. So they've decided a little bit of sunbathing's in order. And this lady cleaning house here in front of me is definitely the most senior female. She is a lot bigger than they are. It's looking like 9 individuals so far in this family. And this lady's cleaning house with one little pup, sort of popping in and out. He's still very small. It's a little bit different going your Ellies to these little guys. So from a couple of tons to a couple of 100 grams. Just a slight size difference. So we've got 2 pups out of the burrow here who are sticking. They're still very shy. Anna Marie, yeah indeed. We have added the Rockstars to the lineup. Oh, one just fell down the burrow. I don't know if BK can see this from his side, But pups were having a bit of a wrestling match. It's always fascinating watching these guys and what they get up to. So looks like we've got 2 sub-adults at the back there, 3 adults, 4 adults. We've got the 2 little pups, and then that senior female keeps popping her head in and out of different burrows. So wondering what she's up to. It's looking more and more like she's doing a bit of housekeeping this morning. Just making sure everything's in order. There she is, in the middle of that crowd. All these tunnels are interconnected into a central chamber, because she went down close to me and has now popped up on the other side. You can see she's very round. These pups are looking old enough that she could potentially be pregnant again. Good morning, Jerome. Always glad to get a question from you. So in this case, Jerome, the behavior they're doing is sunning. They're slowly warming up. As you can see, some of them are cleaning out the tunnels. Obviously, these guys don't come out at night to defecate and urinate because of the risk of predators and their senses not being designed to work well at night. So they're just cleaning house. So this is pretty usual behavior in the mornings, especially when it's cold. So it does take them a little while. Remember, that's a tiny body. They lose heat very quickly. Lots of cleaning going on there, some mutual grooming. So the question we've just had from Daniel is, what are meerkats related to? So your surrogate is in a family of its own, but their closest relatives, I would say, are probably your mongoose family. If you look at similarities in body shape and behavior and that, that's going to be your closest. They often get confused with your yellow mongoose. Is quite a common misconception there, but if you take a look at them, they are slightly different. Some nice mutual grooming going on there. But yeah, it is fairly chilly this morning, so I'm not expecting them to get moving anytime soon. And that sun comes out, slowly warm up. It's a very curious youngster here on the right. So we're going to stay with this family and see what they get up to over the next little bit. For now, we're going to send you across to Mike at Pridelands. Enjoy.
So we haven't gone very far, a couple hundred meters from Leopard Dam, and as I was walking, this little foamy patch caught my eye. And no, for those of you who might be thinking this is a southern foam nest frog's nest, it is not. It is actually the foam cocoon or covering or casing of a spittlebug, which is a really awesome little nymph. It's the nymph of a frog hopper, sometimes known as a spittlebug. I don't know if you've seen these before, but it's a really interesting little creature. So most insects that suck on the sap of plants are using their sharp little sucking mouthpart to get into what's called the phloem. It's a nutrient transport material that usually transports the sugary stuff from the leaves down to the body of the rest of the tree. Now, this little nymph is quite different. It is actually sucking from the xylem, which is the other nutrient transporting material, which takes water and minerals from the roots up. So it's very interesting. Most don't do that because it's not very high in the essential nutrients that animals and insects need to grow. So this little thing has a special symbiotic relationship with two different bacteria in its gut that help to give it the amino acids that it needs in order to survive. So it's just because their diet consists of mostly water, to be honest. And now, because xylem, sucking water up, is a rather quick process, the phloem transporting the sugary stuff is a much slower process. So when these things pierce the nutrient transporting material, the xylem, it flows quite strongly, and so they ingest as much as they can, but there's a lot that just passes straight through their body and goes through a special filtration system that adds a little bit of some chemical that makes it very, very bitter. And so this foam that you see around the nymph serves multiple purposes. For one, it keeps the nymph safe from predators by being very bitter, and so any predator that tries to eat that will not like it very much and probably not do it again. It also keeps that spittlebug moist, stops it from drying out and dying in what's a really relatively dry part of the world. And it also serves to keep it insulated from heat and cold. So it's really amazing functionality and this amazing life processes of this little insect, the spittlebug. I can't really describe what it looks like. It looks halfway between a beetle and a moth. It's a really strange looking creature. Now this on its own is not a problem, and I'm sure many of you have seen them before in your gardens back home. There are many different species throughout the world, but heavy infestations of them are potentially harmful to your plants. But one single spittlebug like this, not a problem. Now what's interesting for me, that the reason why it caught my eye is because in the springtime this year there were lots of them. They were really everywhere on the grasses. You could literally see white foam everywhere. It looked like snow. But now it's late summer, early winter actually. The autumn is already starting. You see the grasses changing color. So that thing shouldn't really be doing what it's doing right now. I'm not sure why it's doing it. And also interestingly, there's a flower here. Just up here is the flower of the purple pod cluster leaf, which is also a springtime thing. So this little patch of bushveld here seems to be rather confused. It's thinking that it's springtime, even though there's fruits hanging from this tree. There are flowers as well. Very, very odd. Very strange situation.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's what I'd like to know.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a Wild Earth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
We've got the Talamati Pride here. There are lions everywhere right now. We had the Torchwood Pride yesterday on Buffelshoek, and we are on Inyala Road North, and they're very alert. Look at that tail. Nice one, Davi. Not moving a muscle, but the tail's giving the emotion away. Can you see that? This lion looks like a statue. They've heard something. There's definitely, I think it's from what I can gather, it's a whole pride. It's a little bit of a tricky spot we're in right now, but hopefully they head down onto Central and we can follow them. I love it when the Talamatis are on Djuma. They're definitely after something, and it's perfect conditions for predators to be active right now. Yes, it is 7:30 in the morning, but it's cool, it's overcast, it's not warm, it's not hot. So they're active, and I think they're hungry. I'm hungry too. Davi's hungry 3. Davi, you're always hungry. Yesterday's sighting was so incredible. If you missed it, please do check it out with the Torchwood Pride. It's only my second time meeting the Torchwood ladies, and wow, it was some meeting. But it often gets reported on the radio that the Torchwood females are a little bit skittish. And I wouldn't say skittish, but they are not as relaxed as the Nkuhumas or the Talamatis. Definitely not as relaxed. They're just a little bit more hesitant around vehicles. Okay, we've lost view for now. I'm going to see if we can leapfrog here, jump in the lineup. We should be able to follow them. I don't think they're going to entirely disappear. You see them there, Davi? We might have to keep moving just because there's other vehicles, but we've got a lioness here. Okay, we're going to Talamatis.
So folks, we're getting a lot more of the family coming out now, and it is warming up, so it's perfect. So you can see we've got all 12 out, which is quite nice. The pups are out, still a little bit nervous around us. There is also a jackal calling in the background, which they're paying a lot of attention to. Always fun to be able to spend time with our little friends. Lots of house cleaning going on. Sand's flying everywhere. I think as it slowly warms up now, these guys will head off soon. See if they can't get some breakfast on the go. But looking at the pups, they are still very small. So the adults will still be feeding them. They're at that size now where they'll slowly be being taught what they can and can't eat, as well as what they should stay away from. Lots of sentries on duty here. Barbara, I agree. They have all the energy in the world. I think we all wish we could keep up. They bounce around everywhere. These youngsters are very curious. And it's WrestleMania. So Steph, those teeth are designed to break open the carapaces of insects. So those are very, very sharp little teeth. You do not want a nip from a meerkat. That is for certain. So, Joshua, they are not likely to attack a human being unless you do something. So if you suddenly try to grab one and he nipped you in defense, that would be considered normal behavior. And if you cornered one, then you might find they might go at you just to try and get away. Remember, these little guys aren't going to be wanting to pick a fight with something that much bigger than them. So, as you can imagine, there's a little bit of an unfair size advantage there. The only time I can think of that a meerkat might potentially randomly attack is if it had a disease like rabies, but then they're not in their normal mindset. So I think we're going to leave our little friends for a while and send you across to some giants in Djuma.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. We've got some elephants. A marula tree has been pushed over. I think it was already weakened. But a whole group of elephants are around it now, feeding and enjoying themselves. We're coming around to see if our buffalo came through towards Treehouse Dam, and we're in the right area for the buffalo to come. We had put our kudu ears on to listen, and we heard some branches breaking. Can you see a little bit more to the left there? Just behind that one, there's a little one. Those are two little ones, but there's an even littler one in amongst there. So hopefully we'll get on camera for you, just us trying to eat, trying to play with sticks, but it's not quite sure what to make of them. I'm just going to allow you to enjoy this little moment here with us. There he is. Two of them. Hello, Alice, 10 years old. Well, sometimes these trees that get knocked down still survive, but I don't think this one's going to. Difficult to say at the moment, but the main stem has been pretty much snapped. And the plant itself is still living because it hasn't yet withered. But I don't know if it's going to survive. Many of them do. Many of them do keep growing. Some of them will still grow from the actual main stem because they've still got roots. You just inch forward here slightly more. Can you get that little baby there in the gap? Got him. There we go. I love elephants, everybody, but to spend time with the littlest ones is often very, very special, especially when they behave like they have been lately, climbing on each other, pushing each other down. I had such a wonderful time with him the other morning. See, it's learning how to feed. It's learning how to use its trunk. It doesn't need to feed on any of this vegetation yet, but it's, like you see human children, when mum is cooking, they want to bake. They don't necessarily get it right, but they still want to use the pots and the pans and the knives and the forks and all of those utensils. They want to be a part of it, even if it's not needed. And so they learn. There's at least two really small little ones in this herd. What's not to love about a baby elephant? Especially when they get feisty. Okay, everyone, well, we're going to stay here with these Ellies. We'll be listening out for our buffalo as well. In the meantime, I send you back over to the Bushwalk team in Proudlands.
So, we found something really cool. So we are sitting close to our western boundary on the drainage line of Leopard Dam, and we've come across this really awesome mineral spring. Now, I suspected it would be a spring after heavy rains, but it has never had water in it as long as I've known it, and that's more than a year now, or almost 2 years actually. So that's a pretty amazing sight. So this is natural water seeping out of the ground after the heavy rains we've had this year and bringing with it a ton of nutrients and minerals. I mean, you can see that animals have been digging all underneath there to get at those nutrients and minerals. You see that all over there. Animals have been climbing in this and using, mostly elephants, using their tusks to dig at the edges here to get this nutrient-rich soil. They'll probably even eat some of this soil. But you can see it's filled with animal dung, elephant and buffalo dung, all over here as they've clambered up this slope to try and get to some of this beautiful material. Now, that's quite amazing. You can even look around here. It's all seeping all the way down there. And this is only possible because of the amount of water that has fallen over the last season. Now, this water would not be something edible for us, drinkable for us. So you saw me dig in the river sand yesterday for water. That was beautiful. If I drank this water right now, I would probably become very ill, not least of all because of the elephant's dung and urine that's probably in here, but also the high mineral content. Oftentimes, these even include a fair amount of toxins in the soil. So it wouldn't be great for us to drink, but how spectacular is that? Pretty awesome thing to see. And even you can see, because it's so moist and over the last days it's been rather warm, you can see this mushrooms that are growing out of this elephant dung here. What a cool spot. Might sit here for a little bit and see if there's any other tracks and signs of animals in the area. But in the meantime, we'll send you over to Lauren.
We've managed to keep up with our Talamatis here. They're very, very active. This is the most active I have seen lions in a very, very long time. Now, we've just got one next to the vehicle. I just want to wait to see where this one decides to go. And we're in a bit of a leapfrog. That's where all the vehicles decide to take turns at going to the front, and then once you've had your turn, you go to the back. They're moving further and further into Djuma. There we go. This one's moving. Which ones we can move? Okay. They're heading down towards Mwati. I'm just going to move so that every other vehicle can see what's happening. The Talamati's territory has actually shifted of late. When I first joined in 2018, we hardly ever saw the Talamatis. I mean, if we did, it was, I'm just going to pull up here, Dobby, it was luck. it was really luck to see the Talamatis because they're normally on Buffelshoek, and they also head right up to the Mangileti sort of side. But recently, since the Nkuhumas spend more time down south, they are pushed a lot more into Djuma. We're seeing them regularly, and I'm not just talking the sort of northern sector of Djuma. I'm talking far down south. We've had them in the very southeastern corner, and I think they also crossed our southern boundary. So their territory shifting, but that's completely normal for them always to shift. Territories are not static. It's all about resources and also pressure from competitors. So their territory's definitely done a shift. Oh dear. And yeah, I think they've come down a little bit. So they've expanded, they've pushed. If there's no pressure, then any species is always going to expand. If there's no competitors, there's no neighbours, then having a bigger territory is more beneficial for you. So we're right in the heart of Djuma now. We're travelling down Vulture's Nest. So their sort of neighbouring prides are the Torchwood and the Nkuhumas. I just want to let this vehicle go in front now. I think we've probably had our turn and been at the front of the line. Let's see. It would be nice if they would just go into an open clearing. How lovely would that be? And of course it's seasonal as well. The territories will shift seasonally because season directly relates to resources. Okay, we're just going to let that vehicle go in front. We're going to keep following them for now. They're going to end up in the Mulwati. We're still not allowed to drive the Mulwati fully, but we can cross it from side to side. Okay, we're going to do our very best to keep up with the Talamatis here. And for now, we're going to send you across to Mike in Pridelands.
We've managed to find a tiny little lion. One of the smallest lions that you can find. Just down here, we spoke about it yesterday, the ant lion. Now we've got an ant lion larvae that's managed to make a kill. Well, not really a kill just yet, but it's caught an ant. So you can see the ant, what you can see there is the ant struggling to fight itself free, and the ant lion, which is underneath it, catching it in its pincers and moving it back and forth. Basically, I'm not really sure why they do that, but probably just to batter it until it stops fighting. Oh, a second ant! Oh, we can only eat one at a time, I suppose, so that's good. At least it's escaped. But yeah, so you can see here, tiny little thing. It's, not even the size of my pinky finger nail, and considering that ant lion was about 10 centimeters long yesterday, that's pretty amazing that they can pupate into something so huge. And there's a whole bunch of ant lion larvae here that have set up their home pits or their little traps right next to a colony of pugnacious ants. So the ant that it's caught is a pugnacious ant, which looks like it's running out of energy now. I don't actually know if ant lions have any venom. I doubt it. Although they probably need some sort of a venom or saliva that can dissolve the ant. But that ant definitely seems like it has run out of steam and therefore will slowly be devoured, pulled under the ground, and then have its insides sucked out. That sounds horrendous. Oh, a second kill! There's a second kill! Just over here. There's a tiny little ant that's just been caught by an even smaller ant lion. Oh, and this one's now being pulled under. I've never seen this before. That's so cool. This one's actually being pulled under the ground. Okay, whilst I lose my mind because this is super awesome, we'll send you over to Steve.
Welcome back, everybody. Our elephants are well and truly enjoying this marula tree. Wonderful interactions here of this whole herd with this one medium-sized bull who's probably responsible for pushing it over. Our little calves in amongst it, picking up bits that have been dropped, trying to figure out how do I put this stick in my mouth. I'm not quite sure. Okay, they're all listening to something. And in 3, 2, 1, they're going to come back to normal. And there we go, all back to normal. Some communication was going on amongst them. There was some communication signal they were all listening for. And then they all suddenly start moving again. It's really quite an amazing thing to witness, a whole herd. Here we go again. Back to normal again. Now that herd of buffalo is, last we heard, was slowly heading in this direction. So a herd of buffalo moving into this area would cause the elephants to not become aggressive, but they'd be interested to know what is that noise. And if they weren't sure what it is, they'd have to figure it out. And obviously, maybe one of them could smell it, maybe one of them understood what the sound was. And I'll be like, what is that noise of something approaching? Okay, herd of buffalo, back to normal. If that is indeed what they've decided. Can you see these two youngsters in the middle there? Morgan, with the little youngster right underneath trying to get in as well. So beautiful to see elephants, their trunks intertwined, having little one-on-one moments with each other. Karen, in Botswana, we had an aggregation of elephants. So when you get more than one herd together, you start calling them aggregations. And I've seen about 200 at the same time, which is a lot. 200 elephants all coming together. It's really quite something special to see, especially when you're on foot, when you're standing on the riverbank watching them just keep coming and keep coming. You eventually lose count. So could have even been more. There's times of year when elephants accumulate in larger numbers and they head off again into their small breeding groups once again. Very, very special to be able to spend time with these gentle giants, and this herd is super relaxed, not at all concerned by our presence, which is wonderful. Luke, well, that's a very, very hot topic. Some people have thought the elephant numbers have been overpopulated for a long time. Others think it will equilibrium itself out. It's very hard to know. Unfortunately, no matter how big the reserve is, it's always going to reach a carrying capacity of sorts. And the carrying capacity basically means the number of animals that it can sustain. And, well, there are definitely signs that elephant impact is rampant in and around the Kruger. But, you know, the area has gotten bigger. But still, the Kruger in its entirety is still a fenced-off area. It's still only as big as it is. And so, of course, with every population, it is going to get to a state where it's going to be deemed overpopulated. The populations in southern Africa of elephants are very, very strong. And there's been quite a political debate for quite many years, since the 90s, about the impacts of elephants, what their numbers should be at, how many elephants is sustainable. And they used to maintain the elephant population, the Kruger, at around 7,000 through active management. And what they realized is that stage, that 7,000, was at what we call the surge stage. So if you look at a graph, the graph starts off slowly and then it starts to go uphill and then it peters off. So the surge stage is that part where it starts to grow. And they were maintaining elephant population at that surge stage. So plenty of animals to breed, plenty of animals to thrive. So if you keep it at that stage, it's going to surge, it's going to grow, and there's plenty of habitat and plenty of food. And so they kept to that number for many, many years. And then a lot of science, a lot of politics got involved, and then no one could prove categorically what was happening, what wasn't happening. So there's been a lot of research since the 90s about the impacts of elephants and the movements of elephants, and all the other species involved as well. So definitely there's lots of research going into it. And what they've realized through much of this is they know that elephant numbers will eventually reach a certain equilibrium where they start to slow down, because that surge stage sort of disappears, starts to sort of balance itself out. But the impacts to the vegetation is very interesting, because Botswana has been going through overpopulation of elephants for quite some time, and South Africa's been watching to see at what stage exactly and where is it going to lead to. So Botswana's got an enormous number of elephants, I think, huge numbers, and so they've seen all sorts of scientific data and all sorts of changes happening. South Africa's got nowhere near the same number. So it is being watched, it is being monitored, but one thing through the research they've realized is that elephants definitely do perceive risk. And so a few years ago, I know that the Kruger's policy was to manage herds with regards to area and to try and limit the water, so that there would be a little bit more pressure on the herds themselves. Because essentially herds have to move in relation to the babies. As you can see, it's a bit more awkward for babies to move than it is for adults. And so elephant management is definitely in a regard of managing for the movement of the herds rather than their numbers.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Earlier this morning, our plan was to go look for the Birmingham Pride with the two white ones. And then our plan went to according what we have planned this morning. So look what we found now. We really successfully found the Birmingham Pride, which is the other part of that whole pride. And they lying at the water hole, just on the edge of the water. How cool is that? Have you ever seen lions lying like this? And they look so relaxed, full bellies. Looks like they hunted last night and got successful, so relaxed. I wish I was there to witness the kill. I'll tell you what they've eaten, because it looks like they found something really big to feed them all. If it was an impala, they were not going to look like this. As you see, some of them, they looks like they're about to explode. The one that just shook her head now, lying there, you can see, if you look at the stomach, that shows they got something really big to feed them all. This is a beautiful scene. As you can see, they're just lying there, but I'm sure it's cool enough today for them to be lying there. It's out in the open. Normally, if the lions have eaten during very hot days, they'll look for a shade and lie there. If they were still close to where they had the kill, they were going to go lie on the shade and stay guard the food, because the vultures might come in as well as hyenas. But it looks like they ate and finished whatever they caught last night and decided to come and look for water. The last time I saw them, there were 8 of them together. Let me try count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's still 8, of which, if there were more than these, I was going to say these guys just came over here to drink some water and then go back to where the kill is, because that's what lions will do if after eating. And some of them will go drink, and some of them will stay guard the food, and then they take turns, because hyenas will follow them hunting, and then when they've killed something, they'll try move in and eat. So they won't leave the kill at the same time, all of them. Some of them will stay guard the food. Besides, they don't have to drink almost every day. After eating, they'll lie down somewhere, because they'll easily get the moisture from the blood. So that's why lions are not like the rest of the prey species that eat grass and they need to drink almost every day. But these animals will get moisture from the blood from whatever animal they kill. So wherever they go, if they happen to pass water, then they'll get some water to drink. But it's not a matter of they have to drink every day. See, every now and then, one will get up and look around and lie down again. Just now, the other one was up looking opposite to where that one is looking. They're just watching if there's no other lions in the area coming to disturb them, because there's no male with them. Most of what we... Yeah, believe me or not, even for us, we see him like almost every couple of days, not every day. We have the same comment that he grows so fast. I think the reason is just because some of these lions are big, like the females, some of them are big for normal size. So he's from one of those lionesses. I'm sure he's got the genes from his mother. That's why he looks so big. Because the mother, you can mistake her footprints on the road when she was walking by herself to a male lion, because she's such a big lioness to normal size. Yeah, we'll have a look maybe if the queue wasn't. Yeah, we're gonna stick around here with these lions and see if they move onto the shade. Otherwise, we're gonna go over to Mike and Pride Land and see what Mike has got for us.
So we've come back in an easterly direction from that mineral spring that we found, and we've actually found this amazing little patch of very white earth. And I looked closely at it, and this is salt. This is actually salt. This is a natural salt lick. Now, this is very unusual. It's not unusual to have salt and minerals accumulating, but it's unusual to see it so visibly like this. Normally, we just see slightly paler earth, but this actually just looks like sprinkled salt. And you can see there's been lots of animal activity here. There's been elephants that came down to feed here. Behind me, you can see they've absolutely smashed up this little eroded patch here to get to this salt, the salt lick. So now, to prove that it is salt and that it's not some other random thing, what I'll do, lick my finger and then find a patch which looks really salty, which looks super delicious. This looks like a good part there. So you can see on my finger that white, a little bit of dirt there, but like white, it looks like salt crust. Ooh, that is actually amazing. I could literally scrape this up and put it on my breakfast. It's so good. So now salt is a really important mineral. It helps with water retention in our cells, in our bodies. And so that's what animals really need, especially in the driest part of winter. They'll be licking the salt and then drink water, and that helps to keep the water in their body for longer. I don't know what the process is called now. I think it's called osmosis. The more salt you have inside you, the more your body takes in the water. So that's really, really cool. And you can see it looks like some zebra also walked down here. This looks like a zebra track as it clambered down this slope here to also probably partake in this salt lick. And this is literally just every time it rains, the water leaches minerals from the upper slopes down here. James, that is a really cool find. It's the first time that I've seen a natural salt lick that is this intense. Now, in many reserves all over the world, you put out salt licks or salt blocks around the reserve to help animals find the minerals that they need to survive. And this is the first time I've seen one that's so prominent like this. I'm actually quite fascinated. I've been told that there was one here, but this is the first time I actually saw it. I don't know why I've walked here before. I don't know why I've never seen it here before. You can see there, Johan, just showing you the salt lick travels quite far. And this whole bank here, this whole eroded area has been fed upon by these animals to get to the salt. And in fact, it's actually coming out of the ground. If we come back here, it's not just sitting on the surface, but if you look over here, where an animal is already licked away at the bank here, you can see the salt in there coming out of the rocks. Look at that. That's just pure salt. That's really incredible. Never before have I seen salt like this. And not only the salts, but other minerals as well. Wow, that's amazing. That's super salty. I'm fascinated. I'm going to sit here at some point and just see what animals come down and how they interact with this salt lick. But whilst I contemplate how I'm going to do that, we'll send you over to Lauren.
We are just having the best sighting. The Talamatis all squished together up this mound. Oh, it's been adorable. They've all gone flat now, but it's still just so lovely. I love seeing lions up a termite mound. It's not common that you do, and when you do, it's so worth it. We also have a scorpion on the car. My new friend. Hopefully he'll come back and say hello. A small one, do not worry. But he's been living in Wendy. Oh, look at them all. I can count 6. And there's one at the other side of the mound, 7. You see that twisting of the ears independently? They're able to tell exactly what direction the sound is coming from by moving each ear independently. They're definitely not resting for good. They're going to get up at some point. Just say goodbye to another vehicle. Lauren, great name by the way. It's a beautiful name. You're asking at what age do young males get kicked out of the pride? It coincides with when they become sexually mature, because once they start to develop sexually, there's obviously going to be a change in hormones, namely testosterone. Testosterone will not only affect their physical appearance when they start to develop a mane, they'll start to get obviously a lot bigger. Testosterone will affect their behavior naturally. It even affects humans if you think about it. And they tend to become sexually mature at around 3 years old. And therefore, once the changes take place, they will start to be ousted from the pride around then. But it's a process. It's definitely a process. It depends on when they become mature and also in other factors, especially dynamics within the pride. And then it's time for the male to go off on his own and find coalition mates, or if there was males from the same litter or the same pride that are around the same age, they'll leave at the same time and form their own sort of band of, well, males. Collectively, males are a stronger force when it comes to lions. They can defend a larger territory, and they can, of course, reside over more prides, have more females to mate with. Stunning, stunning views of these lionesses this morning. Gabby, no, the females would stay within the pride, and they stay with the older females, and this benefits them greatly, of course, because although it's slightly different from a coalition, it benefits them. They are social. They need members of the pride. They need the protection of females. They need those social interactions. And of course, they also have to defend a large territory. And they can also take down bigger prey collectively. They can look out for one another. And of course, for females, it's all about reproducing. All about reproducing. Everything a lioness does is about securing the safety of her own offspring as well as the other females. They allosuckle. So if a female was to leave the pride and go join the males, she'll have no safety, no security, no other females to assist her when it comes to raising her young. And then of course the males are going to live quite a life of trying to fit in and establish their own territory as a new coalition in an area. Female would not want to be part of that. She has a guaranteed safety of being in a pride with all of her other lionesses. The bonds in a pride are just, they're really something special. Lionesses, although they can be aggressive when there's food, as we saw last night with the Torchwood Pride, they've got some really special bonds between them. They're very in tune with one another. And the fact that they allosuckle, that's really special. They allow other females' offspring to drink their milk. That's very unique. I feel like we're being watched, Davy. Do you feel that way? having a very good look at us. CJ, I agree. There are some very good-looking lionesses. Very beautiful. Strong, in good condition. None of these lionesses have mange. They're not very heavily scarred, the Talamati pride. I've actually seen the Talamatis more than I've seen the Nkuhumas in recent months. And you're right, they're a very good-looking pride. Good genes. I think this one's got the eye on Davy, though. Okay, we're going to sit here as long as we can, and for now we're going to send you across to Steve with his elephants.
Well, nice to see the Talamatis on Djuma. My elephants are still feeding on this Maruda tree, so I think I just heard a buffalo. We've been standing by here, anticipation for the buffalo to come through and head towards Treehouse. We'll get another sound too. They normally are quite vocal when they move, buffalo. Leopard lover, yeah, they do. They move not necessarily for the food, but where the water is most available. That does often coincide with different feeding areas. And to be honest, we often have lots of elephants in this area around Marula time and then in middle to late winter. Normally this time of year, many of the herds go all the way over to the east to feed on the luscious green vegetation that the basalt soils have provided. But it seems, because we've had so much rain this side, that the elephants, many of them, have decided to stay. Just like migratory birds, there's no point migrating if the food is available. So we might actually, because the season is doing so well, have a number of our migratory birds overwintering. At the end of the day, the reason for animals to move is because of resources. And if the resources change, they move. If it doesn't change, no point on moving. And this little one is learning all the tricks of the trade. How to climb, how to try and access food with that trunk. It's not necessary, as I said before, for it to be physically eating, but it definitely is trying to get the trunk around objects. Getting the smell. Victoria, I don't know, I think I've spent so much time with elephant that nothing that they do surprises me. They make me laugh a lot. Their antics make me laugh. Like now you can start to see that these youngsters are all pushing together in the middle there. And it's going to just lead to what it does in humans. One youngster gets a bit bored. We're standing around here, getting bored now, starts to fiddle, starts to play, starts to cause trouble. So they don't surprise me. You can often predict what they're going to do. But they truly are a magnificent species to spend time with. probably going to move out of the sighting and go see where our buffalo are headed. We'll send you back over once again to the Bushwalk team.
So as you can see, we're nearing Leopard Dam, just passing these beautiful open areas that we walked through a few days ago, and I've noticed something that's changed since the last time we were here. We are getting close to the rutting season. The impalas are soon going to start fighting. The males are soon going to start fighting over the females, and look what is here. We have an old impala dung midden that hadn't been used when we were walking through here last, but now we've got all these individual piles of impala dung starting to appear at these old midden sites. Now that's very cool, because what that is, it's the rams. All the rams in the area are starting to defecate in order to start the process of figuring out who is the most dominant, who is in charge, who is going to be the challengers, who's going to be the undisputed champion. And so in each of these dung piles, there is information that is shared between them. They can smell this dung and pick up a whole range of facts about each other. So from their ages relative to each other, testosterone levels, perhaps their hierarchical level from the previous season. It's really cool to see that they've started to do this now. Now, we haven't noticed them fighting yet, maybe a bit of sparring here and there, but that sort of goes throughout the year. Not too much vocalizing just yet, but within the next few weeks, we're going to start hearing that constant noise from the impala rams, just announcing their intent. So that's really awesome. And the reason why I know they're impala rams is because these clumps of dung pellets are rather large. The females tend to have small, rounded pellets. I'll show you now. So this here is what you would think of as a typical female impala pellet. You can see it's small, round, little pellet, because females are a fair amount smaller than the males. And then the males are these ones here. This is a bit fresh, but you can see that one is far larger than that one. Look at that. Look at the difference. Okay. Now they're also much larger, these ones, because they're currently fresh, so they're full of moisture. Not a lot, but there's a bit of moisture there. As they dry out, they will dehydrate and become probably, close to half the size that they are now. But it's still pretty awesome to see the difference there, okay? Now, not all of them will look like that. Some of them are actually very rounded in shape. So here's another male. You can see that one looks more round in shape. Vincent, I'm almost certain that there must be rams that never get to mate with the females. Remember, it's all about dominance, and it's all about the genetic strength of that particular impala. So if that particular impala hasn't genetically got the best stature, size, strength, muscles, horn shape, then it might never actually win against some of those larger, stronger males. Although there's always exceptions to the rule. There's always sometimes younger males that go at the end of the season when most of the other males are tired and worn out, and there might be a few females that come into estrus late that they get to mate with. Likewise, weaker males might get a chance. But what happens then is that you find that the main bulk of the impalas that were mated early by the strongest males give birth all together, and then you get these stragglers much later on, sometimes months after the rest have been born, giving birth. And what happens is those ones are much smaller and weaker than all the others by that point, and so predators will target them, and they'll be usually the first ones to be killed. So nature has a way of ensuring that only the strongest survive, and that's why we have that saying, survival of the fittest. It's pretty great to see that we're about to start seeing the gladiators of the bush having a bit of a battle royale.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
I love being a cam-up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
I think I miscounted earlier because we've just found another one who's buried herself so deep in the thicket. Perfect little hiding spot, so I said 7. I'm now going to change that to 8. But most of them have actually moved off and headed into the drainage, the Mulwati. So we're not going to follow, of course. But we've still got a few lazy ones on top of the termite mound. And Davi's given us a nice wide shot there, and what you can actually see is how camouflage they really are. They do blend in. We were discussing the colorations and the markings of all the predators, or the cats, yesterday. Look at that. I mean, yes, you can see there's a line, but she really, really blends into the background. And this is when the vegetation is still very, very green. And of course, when the vegetation is more monotonous and yellowy, very barren, if you like, they also blend in terribly well then as well. And that's exactly why they are tawny. They don't have spots or rosettes or stripe to break up the body outline, but they're very camouflaged, especially in an environment like the Lowveld where we are right now. They do, of course, have some spots on their inner thighs and their tummy, but that's not necessarily completely visible when they're moving. Look at all those wrinkles. Summer's over, they don't need their summer body anymore. It's time to insulate for winter. Wayne, I'm not sure. I think you've got to, when you ask that question, think locally and then globally. And of course, there's lots of conservation bodies working on various different things, protecting lions, collaring lions, and also relocating lions to try and mix up gene pools and spread the populations. So they're very much protected. But of course, there's lots of illegal activity, as always, with many protected species out here, from your lions, your elephants, your rhinos, your pangolin. So the best tool that I normally use is the IUCN Red List. I mention it a lot, I know that, but it's just a great website. It's a great tool for up-to-date information. And they actually released an article just the other day about the African savanna elephant. and they have declared the populations to have decreased by at least 60% over the last 50 years, and that's a declaration by the IUCN. You can actually sort of go on the website and you'll be able to read that article. But for the lions, I'm sure they still have it listed as populations decreasing. But it's hard to monitor because some populations may be... Well, she didn't want to be left behind. Some populations are decreasing and some are thriving in particular areas. So IUCN doesn't normally establish local populations but goes more global. But as far as I know, I think the populations are still said to be decreasing, I'm afraid. And off we go into the Mulwati. So we are not going to follow, I'm afraid. One, the Mulwati is still off bounds and this drainage is very, very tricky. But what I do think we can do is possibly look from the other side, see if we can find them, and if not, head to the hyena den. Once again. I spend most of my drives at the hyena den. But we saw Ribbon and Intima this morning under Mulwati's kill. No sign of Mulwati, I'm afraid. That warthog does look rather finished, but Ribbon and Intima were there with their patience pants on. Stations, the Talamatis have headed west into the Mulwati. We're going to leave them on open lock. Okay, let's bumble on and see what else we can find. But I think it's good. I think the Talamatis will still be here this afternoon, and they do appear to not have full bellies. And it's still very cool, still overcast. I'm determined not to put a jacket on until it really does get cold. I'm trying to be brave. I'm trying to be Scottish. Okay, as I bumble on, we're going to send you guys across to Mike in Pridelands.
So what we've found here is a whole raiding party of black hissing ants, sometimes known as Matabele ants, and they are busy raiding a termite colony, or at least where the termites are working. There's some just in there. There's some there that have just caught a whole bunch, but the termites have retreated, and there's a bunch here which have managed to find some termites just in there. But it looks like the termites are sending signals quickly to seal up their holes and move into their tunnels as quick as possible. Now these ants, these big ones, these are, hunters. They are specializing in catching termites. And what they're doing now is they're roaming through this litter of dead grass material looking for any termites that might have been out. Remember, it's a very cloudy day, nice and cool, humid, good conditions for termites to be active. So that's what these ants are looking for. And now there are two different sizes of these ants. I'm not sure if you can see that. There are big ones and much smaller ones. Now the very small ones are the ones that go into the termites' tunnel systems and kill termites and bring them out so that the much larger ones can carry them. Now the large ones can also fight and sting, but they just can't reach inside. Look over here. You can actually see some of the small ones going in there, killing some small termites, and then bringing them out for the larger Matabele ants to carry away. Do you see that? Now they sting, remember? Matabele ants can bite, but their main way that they immobilize their prey, which is the termites, is to sting them. And their sting is very painful. It's very similar to that of a bee. And this is probably the only entrance that they found, although there's another clump of them just to the right, which are just in here, also bringing out a whole bunch of termites. So it seems like there's two entrances that they've managed to locate. But it's a slow process, this one. There's not a lot of entrances, so the big termites cannot get inside, and only one or two of the smaller Matabele ants can actually fit inside at a time. I can just, listen to that. Peter Pan, the ants are black in color, and termites are usually very pale. But termites are usually active at night because they don't have melanin, or at least not a lot of melanin in their body, and so they need to stay hidden from the sunlight. That's also why they create those mud tunnels everywhere. Whereas these Matabele ants, the black hissing ants, they don't have any issues at all with sun, and so they can be very active during the day. Oh, I'm actually a bit nervous. They keep getting disturbed by, I don't know if it's either me or if it's the wind or what, but every now and again they start hissing, which is where the name comes from. And when they do that, it means that they're willing to attack anything that gets in their way. And they can sting very painfully, my goodness. And they are not like bees, which only sting once. These things will sting you multiple times. Go, ants, go. Halderain, absolutely. These Matabele ants are masters of their craft. And they are, I mean, it looks like a slow process, but I can see more and more and more of these larger Matabele ants actually carrying mouthfuls of termites, which they will then carry all the way back to their nest, somewhere not so far away, within a few 100 meters. And they will then put them inside for the whole colony to eat. This is just a small part of this ant colony. It might just be a few hundred of the raiders. But it won't take long for these termites to eventually seal all their holes, and they also fight back. The termites also have chemical defenses. They've got some of the soldiers that can spray an acid-like substance, which the ants don't like. And you do see every now and again, which is really amazing actually, Matabele ants will carry their wounded back. They will literally go back to fetch their wounded. Anna-Marie, we certainly do. Not so much here in South Africa, but if you go to East Africa, you get something called a safari ant. And that thing can, they're very tiny, but if they get hold of you, it's very uncomfortable. And they're so small, you don't usually feel them until they're all the way up your leg and they start biting and stinging you, and then it's a disaster. You really do feel like your leg's on fire. These ants are more similar to bullet ants, which I'm sure you've also heard of, which have one of the most painful stings of any small insect. So now you can see the tip of the spear here. This is the head or the vanguard of the raiding party. They are on the move through here looking for another entrance. Those entrances are obviously now all sealed, or there's at least a good defensive, there's a good defense there from the termites. So these ones are now looking for a new way in, which hasn't yet been sealed. So they won't really stop their raid until they're all carrying some termites. There's no point going back with only half of you carrying. You must all be carrying something. Yeah, see, look, they found an entrance. Look at them all attacking that one entrance there. So they can't dig very well, but they are able to remove some of the debris out the way so they can fit inside. So let's have a look. What are they doing? Are they going to be bringing out any termites? Remember, it's the small Matabele ants that are going in there. The big ones will remain on the outside, defending against any attackers. Let's see if any termites get brought out. Oh, there you go. There's a termite. There's another one. Yep. They've managed to get at them again from a different angle. Wow, this is fascinating to watch. Oh, look at that. You can see them all freaking out. I think I got a bit too close there for a second. But they are bringing out termites en masse. So the termites are very tiny. These are all the drones. These are all the workers who are just busy tend the colony. They bring the dead grass material underground. They make the tunnels. These are no soldiers here. If you look closely, you'll see those Matabele ants actually stinging them. They bend their abdomen up and they sting the termite. Oh, there's a whole bunch of termites here by my feet. Let me move out the way. Oh. Just here, there's a whole bunch of termites in there. They're about to get absolutely annihilated by these Matabele ants. Oh, it almost looks unfair. Look how small they are, and they've got no defense. These termites, these workers have absolutely no defense against the Matabele ants. All they can do is try and keep out of the way. Oh, look, I'm watching them get stung. This is amazing. All right, well, while we're going to stick around here and watch this raiding party decimate these termites that are left out in the open, We'll send you over to Josh.
Well, folks, I never expected to listen to such a military game drive, for lack of a better term. But it is true. Ants definitely do raid termites, and it is quite amazing to see. So we're in the north, trying to see what we can find. But everything's hiding this morning. It's a very quiet morning. Nice and relaxed, but all our big game is definitely not here. Just been having an interesting chat with BK.
If you look down here, you can see we've got some elephants. That sand looks like if there's no grass growing in it, that's a dry riverbed. Even though it's a dry riverbed, if you look carefully, you can see some wet spots in that riverbed where the elephants are. There's a young one coming down. And those wet spots, it's just because these elephants are digging for water in this riverbed. What they'll do, they'll first shovel the sand with their front feet and dig it nicely, make it smooth and deeper with their trunks, and then manage to get some water to drink. This is what the animals will do sometimes. They see that one just splash water there. That shows the water level is not very low. It's a very high water level, so they just managed to get some water and drinking from those spots that they were digging. And that's what the animals will do during heavy drought. They'll go along these riverbeds, look for water. It's amazing how their senses are, because they'll be walking down this riverbed quite a long distance, and as soon as they sense or smell there's water in that spot, they'll stop and start digging. I also think now there's lots of water around because we had enough rain this season. They do it like that. It's not because they don't know where to find water. As you can see in front of that big one that's walking slowly, there is a small puddle of water from the rain, but they didn't want to go drink there. They could have easily went and drink there. It's just because they also like sweet and clean water. This is, I personally think they're also doing it as part of survival, just to teach the young ones how to find water when the water is not there, which is quite cool. So the young ones are learning from the adults how to go and get some water if they walk past this. They'll dig and leave the water to be filtered by the sand. The water will rise, the water level will sort of rise onto that little hole that they've dug. And when they drink, they sort of like pinch the trunk and then filter the sand so it doesn't come into the trunk. So they'll drink the water and throw the rest that they feel like it's got sand in it. As you can see, they're walking and putting their trunk against the sand, sort of like sniffing if they can get more water. If they didn't drink enough from where they were digging, they might try and dig as well, or go straight to that small puddle that it's in front of them and get some more water, because they didn't get enough. But if they did, they'll just walk past it. See that one on the far left in front is walking straight towards that water. Let's see if he's going to drink. He's throwing a bit of sand on his body. Slowly walking towards the water. putting his trunk and checking if the water is clean. Throw the sand again. Yeah, sometimes after drinking, they'll just go take a bath in that water. If they think that water is not clean enough for them to drink, they'll just go in and take a little bath when it's really hot, just to cool themselves down. You see the one on the left is splashing the water now. If he needs to take a bath, he can get the water with his trunk and throw that on his body. There he goes. Just had some water. Pretended like he was drinking, but it looks like that water is not clean enough, so he just splashed the water. See the ones going straight in. They're going to push each other there. It's just looks like they're fighting, but not seriously. It's just a dominance thing which starts from being young like that. You can see those are two young bulls sparring there, but it's not really serious. Because if they're fighting serious, then they'll push each other quite hard. But those are still two young ones, and then we're just playing. As you see, the other one is now decided he's going to move away from the one guy. Coming back. That's what's funny to watch young elephant bull, because they're very playful. Oh, there's more elephants across on the other side, as you can hear that sound. So they might be circling around to go and join up with the other elephants on the other side. Those two young ones will keep playing there. They might even stay behind the rest of the herd and follow them later if they decided to go and catch up with them. As you can see, I thought they stopped playing and then they on that game again. You can see the adult walking away from them because, you know, they're not in trouble. Otherwise, if they are, because these animals can help each other.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
It seems to be an elephant kind of day here across many properties. But we have been watching this bull who's thoroughly relaxed. He tried very hard to knock over the marula next to him, and then he wasn't successful. The marula won. So then he tore out this tree here, and from what I can gather, he's not really eating it. Davy and I were just wondering, do the males do this for fun? Is it fun to... Look at this one's tusks, Davy. Look at the difference in the tusks. Oh my goodness. You see that? Wow. I think it was one of our locations was discussing elephants being either right-handed or left-handed. But this is a dramatic difference. Wow, elephants are coming out of everywhere. Little youngsters. But yet, Davy and I were just discussing, do the bulls just enjoy pushing over trees because they can? Oh, look at this, look at this. Everybody's coming out of it. Hello, everybody. Oh, yes. That was a nice dance. Wow. This is really incredible. Hello. You're very beautiful. Yes, you are. Wow, that was perfect timing. Davy and I have literally been sitting looking at the bull. We didn't realise the entire herd were about to come out from the thicket with lots of little youngsters. Wow. I cannot believe the difference in this one's tusks. Bernie Lulu, you're saying, oh, Elephant Monday. I know. Definitely a day for elephants, and they're all so relaxed. But I didn't personally realise this. There was a huge herd behind this bull. When you go back to play in animals, there's scientific definitions for play. I can read them out to you later if you wish. When you can conclusively say that this animal is not doing that action for any survival reasons. There's no sort of purpose for that repetitive action. And then you can determine it to be play. And play exists in the animal kingdom from fish right through. I'm not sure if it's been determined in insects yet, but I'm sure they do. And I just wonder if this bull is just playing. He's just having a jolly good time destroying things. Pushing over trees, breaking branches, uprooting them. He can't get the marula, so he wasn't eating that tree. He just threw it back on the ground. I think he's just enjoying it. Can you hear the starlings? The starlings are following this elephant herd. Stacey, I actually haven't. Young baby elephants normally either just sort of stay extremely close to mum, follow mum's every step. Maybe when they start to learn how to use their trunk, because it's a process, then they start to pick up branches and twigs and sort of think, what do I do with this? How do I maneuver my trunk to get this in my mouth? And then they discover wrestling with one another. And that's just the best thing ever. Before I think they will really start to push over trees. They may kick over a small shrubbery, but I only think it's when they get older and they realize their strength that they push over trees. Can you hear him pushing over the bush? Imagine just being able to bulldoze your way through all the vegetation. They're one of the strongest, most powerful animals out here. Nothing can stand in their way. Unless it's a very strong marula tree, of course. Liz and Ken, you're asking about the elephant with the mismatched tusk. I don't think so. I don't think it would be related to Fang. What's happened to that elephant is that I think it has been mentioned already, but they do have a dominant side, and they will have one tusk that they actually term the master tusker. And the master tusker will be the tusk that is on the more dominant side of that elephant. So that elephant that we just looked at was very much dominant on her left side. So in human terms, we would call that left-handed. So that means she uses her left tusk so much more to dig, to tear up bark, to strip bark and wring bark. And the tusk is just worn down a lot more than the right side. So her master tusk is her left tusk. She's just worn it down so much and most likely not used her right tusk at all. And that's why it's so mismatched. It's not genetics. It's just from how she's been using the tusks. And all elephants, just like humans, have a dominant side. Some of us are left-handed, some of us are right-handed, some of us are ambidextrous, but generally speaking, you have one dominant side, and it's exactly the same for elephants. Rarely will you find an adult elephant with equal-sized tusks, but that was quite a dramatic difference, absolutely, but I don't think related to Fang, no. Wow, this was such a lovely sighting. We were actually on our way to the hyena den, so we may just try and at least get there, but for now, we're going to send you all the way down to Swallow.
So folks, we found a scene that sort of just stopped us. There's an incredibly long Southveld grass here, but these gemsbok standing in it, those mountains behind them, is quite the scene. Paying a lot of attention to us, but it's just such a nice contrast between the long grass, this huge open area here, which we call Little Serengeti, and and the Coronaberg behind it. Still seems so odd to me seeing gemsbok in such a long grass. You ever think of a gemsbok, or when I do, I always picture them on these deep, dark red sand dunes, kind of huge open plains of like Etosha. But here we have them getting lost in the grass with mountains behind them. It's about 5 or 6 in this area at the moment. It's a small breeding herd by the looks of things. They're definitely a little bit nervous. Obviously with this long grass, it does make it a little bit more difficult to see predators coming into the area. Our 2 cheetah brothers are famous for liking in this area for hunting in specific. So they do have to be alert. That little breeze is bringing all the scents that are around and swirling them. So no real direction picked. Stunning image. As you can see, coming to the end of our rainy season, grass is turning yellow very quickly. We've still got about a month left in our rainy season, but I don't think there'll be too much. I think we've had an incredible amount of rain. We're grateful for it. But the grass is turning yellow. The temperatures are changing. As they say in Game of Thrones, winter is coming without a doubt. Folks, can't help but agree with you. Tswalu is always amazing. Never ceases to take my breath away. As you can see, this herd's grown tired of us. It's heading off towards the mountains.
How do you tell the difference between an oryx and a
Female sable. So, Jamie, 9 years old, good morning. How do we tell the difference between an oryx and a female sable? If you look at the colors, your female sable is almost a russety color, although she can get dark black. If you look at your oryx, they're a very tan color with a very white tummy, and they have a very different face. But the easiest way to tell them apart is their horns. An oryx's horns are always that long scimitar shape, where female sables are much shorter. So if you look at oryxes, males and females have similar shaped horns, but the males' ones are much thicker and much more robust. It's a very peaceful scene. I do often think, looking at the Coronaberg Mountains, that they look like they've been painted in a little bit of watercolor or something. There's many an artist who's tried to capture the beauty that is Tswalu. I think they've all caught a facet of it, but I don't know if anyone's ever captured the essence of it. This herd's making sure they know exactly where we are. Decided they've had enough of us. So we've just had a question from Kirsty asking, when will these animals come into their mating season? Now, they'll generally mate all year round if my memory serves me correctly. I do know that generally it's at the beginning of winter that they give birth, but I would have to double check that, to be honest. Trying to think, they don't have a rutting season like we do, or not like we do, like impala do. Trying to see what my memory says here. It has been a while. Kirsty, I'm going to have to double check that for you, I must say. As far as my memory serves, they mate all year. But generally the young are born into the beginning of winter. But I'm actually just going to quickly double check. So it doesn't give a specific time of year. It does say that the young are born generally towards the end of the rainy season, but also at any time of year. So I was right on that part. Obviously, the rainy season would make sense. There's more food for the mother, and it allows her just to be able to create that great gift, milk, that all mammals are capable of doing. So I was right about them mating all year round. But it's a 264-day gestation period. But there's nothing set about the specifics of the breeding season. So I do hope that helps. But like all things, it's not always a solid answer. You can see they're starting to get a bit of a heat haze there. It is warming up nicely today. So we're going to leave these oryx and our stunning vista, and we're going to send you across to Steve at Djuma. Enjoy.
Thanks, Josh. Welcome back, everybody. We're trying to figure out where Telemati Pride got to. They went into the Moati heading west, which is sort of this direction. So just having a look for some tracks. Nothing seems to have come out this way yet. I thought they might have walked along the drainage. Towards Gowrie Dam, but it doesn't seem like they've come that far. Lauren said they went into the Moati west. Possible they didn't go very far. They might be lying up right there. So not sure exactly where they went in. We're just listening. Sometimes that's all you need to do to find predators. Just switch off and listen.
Yeah, we're just checking the riverbed now, see if we can pick up this lioness with 3 cubs, because this is where she was last seen. So we're hoping that she's lying somewhere in the riverbed, but no sign of her at the moment. We're just gonna check the other side, because we just checked the top bank now and there's no sign of her. So we're hoping that she's on this side. Otherwise, if she's not, she might be lying on the road on the other side. We just gonna loop around. If there's nothing in the riverbed, we'll loop around onto the road and check that area, see if we can have any luck. Otherwise, yeah, normally they'll be found lying somewhere in front of us in those bushes there. We just hope they stay here somewhere. It will be really nice because we saw them last night hunting. It will be really nice to see if they got successful or not. And then that will be nice to see that they feed well because those cubs are still young, so they need to eat very often. This is where they were yesterday and left from here. And there's no sign of them. Or what we're gonna do now, we're gonna drive around onto No, the fair does not get thicker to prepare for winter. They just have that as their normal the whole year round. Not like some of the animals in other countries that will lose their fair or drop their horns and get prepared for winter. But these animals keep it as it is. Let's go up the bank and see if we can find anything on the other side because there's no sign of these animals in this riverbed. We were hoping they're gonna be here somewhere and we hope they're not far from here. Otherwise, if we don't have luck, we'll continue with the search this afternoon. Now we're off. There is a hierarchy. Normally it will happen to be the oldest lioness within the pride, and then she'll be in charge of the whole pride, and then she'll always lead them and communicate with the rest on what to do, when to go and hunt, and then if time comes, then she's the one which is gonna lead the way most of the time. Yes, there's always one alpha female that leads the pride. We're coming to a very nice open space, which is nice and open, and we're hoping that these animals will be lying here. And then if they're not, we're just going to carry on down the road and hoping to come across them walking down this road. Because normally when they leave that riverbed, they'll come up the bank onto this road and walk down the road. If they'll try to hunt, they may try to hunt. Once they hear something and they go into the bushes and try to hide themselves so they don't get easily seen by their prey. Normally, once they off the riverbed, yeah, we're just going to continue down this road. This open here, I thought that's where we will get lucky to find them, but still nothing so far. And then we're going to try carry on down the road and see if we can get lucky along this road. Maybe find a leopard, you never know. It will be really nice because I haven't seen a leopard for quite some time. But our plan is to try and find this female lion with the 3 cubs for now. A leopard will be on this road because it's a nice place for leopard as well. You never know, you will be looking for a lion and all of a sudden you find leopard, buffalo, maybe elephant in the area along the way while you're trying to find the lions. Oh, there's an antelope. Common duiker just ran across quickly past the road from our right to left. Unfortunately, it didn't stay that long for us to watch it. It's a very beautiful antelope, normally found along these river banks, but they Duiker is like an Afrikaans name, which in translation is a diver. I'm not sure if you see him dashing across the road and he dive through the bush as part of his defense mechanism. Even though he's a small antelope, these antelopes can move quite quickly when they escape the predator. So there is another crossing up ahead of us. We're just gonna go in and drive up the riverbed to see if this lance didn't go down into the riverbed again, because sometimes when they come onto the road, they'll go back down and lie somewhere in the riverbed. And then what we're gonna do, we've checked the other side further down behind us, and then we're gonna go into the riverbed again and check west along the riverbed, see if we can have any luck. So stay with us while we're trying to find this lance. Now, some impalas running across the riverbed. We'll see what's chasing them. Yeah, while we're trying to find this lance, we're gonna go over to Josh at Tswalu and see what Josh has found for us.
You find us bumbling along. So far, we seem to have found an incredibly large sociable weaver's nest. I'm just going to stop here. Conversation I was having with one of my colleagues yesterday was over the different kinds of weaver's nests we have here on Tswalu. So predominantly 3 different types of nests, although we do know of a 4th that has been seen here, but neither one of us have seen. So obviously this massive construction here, your sociable weaver's nest, can weigh up to a metric ton, is made out of primarily grass matter, and as you can see, there's just a little bird popping in and out there every now and then, which is quite cool. We have our southern black-masked weaver's nest, which is that lovely little egg-looking cup, as well as our white-browed sparrow weaver's nest, which is that incredibly untidy clump. So we know we get these 3 here, and they are all very different, with this being the largest. But we also get your red-billed buffalo weaver on Tswalu. So I have seen the bird, although none of their constructions, and that is made out of a massive pile of thorn branches. So it just does fascinate me how one species of bird, or one family of birds, can create so many different nest types. These nests are home to more than just your social weavers. You will see pygmy falcons taking over a chamber potentially, acacia-pied barbets, and I believe one of the firefinches, your African firefinch, has also been recorded. So it seems like it's quite the busy apartment block. I say, I do feel sorry for this tree. That nest looks like it weighs a fair amount. So these nests can potentially break the tree limbs that they are in, especially during the rainy season when they get waterlogged. So you can imagine that just adds a lot more weight. If that nest does fall, everybody inside's got a bit of a problem, that's for sure. Asking PK to have a look here. If we go straight down the road, lucky enough, we've got one of our other weaver nest types. So our white-browed sparrow weaver nest, and you can see maybe a slight difference in size, shape, design. There's quite a large difference going on there. So that is a giant scruffy ball of grass with more than one entrance to confuse predators. But yeah, there's just a little bit of a contrast between the two weaver species. how different they are. So Jasmine's asked, have I ever seen the inside of a sociable weaver's nest? It's made up of lots of little chambers, like a honeycomb, Jasmine. I have seen one that has been blown out of a tree, and you can see the bottom half of it looking into these tiny little nest chambers. So can't say I've ever seen like a section of one, but I've definitely seen into the nest and had a bit more of an idea of what's going on there. I know better than to stand underneath them as well, apart from the fact that you never know what bombs might land on you. They are often the home of Cape cobras here at Tswalu, so not unusual to find them. And Tilo Beck, who does our Cape Cobra research project, actually often finds his research animals around these nests. Obviously, they are a major source of food for the snakes. And that's where that lovely mutualistic relationship between our pygmy falcon and our sociable weavers comes in. So quite a lot going on with this very odd-looking nest.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far. For all of you Wild Earth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumble crew. Hopefully, Dan Black, Liesel Apgar, and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live.
So folks, you find BK and I still here, just having a look. What is going on with this huge sociable weaver's nest? Now, we've got a lot of the birds in and out, constantly feeding, adding to the nest, repairing broken parts. You realize it really is like a little apartment block. Now, some of these nests have been recorded having up to 300 breeding pairs. Now, I feel sorry for the guy who had to count all of that. So I guarantee you he got bombed on more than once while doing it. But in this case, they've made their home in a lovely shepherd's tree, or Boscia albitranca in Latin, and does help provide a little bit of shade, although looking at those leaves you can see it's not a massive amount. What fascinates me about these nests is something I learned from one of our guides, Carl, who you all know if you've watched the show a bit, is that massive temperature difference between the inside of that nest, keeping those little guys warm, and the outside temperatures. So, looks like we're going to look here. You get a look. Wait a minute. That is not a sociable weaver. That is a scaly-feathered finch who is looking around. And there's our sociable weaver. I was about to say, that is the strangest looking weaver I've seen. But just getting a nice look there at what a sociable weaver looks like. If you think of weavers, most people picture these bright yellow birds with little black masks. And the southern masked weaver is definitely our most predominant species in most people's experience. But as you can see, this guy, a dab little brown. But back to what I was saying about the temperatures. We have huge fluctuations out here in the Kalahari, especially between midday and then midnight. If you think about the fact nights here can go down to -10, -12 Celsius, and the days can be as hot as the mid to high 40s, early 50s. So that nest works as a massive insulator, keeping them warm at night and cool during the day. So once again, just impressive what nature really can do. And by the looks of it, we've got a individual there doing a little bit of maintenance, so constantly pushing and pulling pieces of grass out. So, Tina, looking at the size of this nest, I would say that this is the work of quite a few generations worth of sociable weavers. A nest like this is not built in a single year. This will have been the work of a few years. And you might find, if we were to go and examine around the bottom, that this nest has actually gotten smaller. It does look like there's a bit that's broken off, so you can imagine how big it was in its heyday, for example. But every generation will add a little bit more to it, and then maybe a storm takes away a bit. So they're constantly almost like evolving, if you like. For lack of a better term, they're constantly changing shape, size, everything. Well, I think we can safely say it has been an amazing morning. From elephant herds to white lions to a battle between two armies, ants and termites, and us sitting here with a lovely sociable weaver's nest. Folks, I do hope you've enjoyed your morning with us on a live safari in the African bush. Please remember to join us this afternoon at 3:30 Central African Time, DSTV channel 183, as well as YouTube. Don't be shy to send in those questions. We love them, and we look forward